submitted any time or done anything so far. But this will be a quick way for people to see at a glance what timesheets have been submitted and which ones have been approved, which ones have been rejected, so on and so forth. So you'll be able to see right away if people are not doing their timesheets. I would stress that because this system is designed to give real-time information to our project managers, the only way that can work is if timesheets are done daily. So it will become more and more critical for you to be able to do your timesheet on a daily basis as opposed to waiting until the end of the week or in some cases the end of the pay period. That is a company policy and that will be required.
You will also get emails.
Yeah, and you'll get a friendly reminder from the program that says that you need to submit your timesheet, and the following day you'll get a reminder that CCs your immediate supervisor if you haven't done your timesheet. So with that said, let me just minimize my window here. If you get lost and need additional resources or help in navigating Unanet, I'm going to provide a PowerPoint presentation that will allow you to pull that up and kind of go at a self-paced tutorial on working your way through the program, filling out a timesheet, filling out an expense report, and that'll serve as reference material for you. I just clicked the record button, so yesterday we had some problems with this. Hopefully today it goes through just fine. We will record this session, and I'll make this available as well as a video tutorial, so you'll be able to follow along. And last but not least, there's this section over here that says how-tos and tips. If you need help, Unanet has actually created these help links right here. Oh, create a timesheet. I need to know how to do that. Okay, come over here and it shows you exactly how to fill out the timesheet with a little search bar. You can index it, see, you know, you can jump around and see if there's something that's more specific that you need to know more about, so on and so forth. Back over here on the dashboard, you can see all active timesheets, all active expense reports, any pending approvals that may need to be completed. You can see here I have a couple of approvals. We'll go into those here shortly. And with that said, for right now, as I mentioned several times, we're only looking at time and expense right now. So go into our time. You can do it from the dashboard. Sorry, let's click back over here. I can go into my timesheet. This is my timesheet right here. I can go into it from this screen by either clicking on the pencil to edit, or I can click on the sunglasses, goggles, binoculars, whatever you want to call those, and you can just view it. Or I can come over here to the time tab, very easy. I double click on this and I get my timesheet. So this, when you first log into the system, it may look a little bit different. You're probably not going to have all this stuff in here, all these line items in here. The reason for that is you haven't done it in Unanet yet, but once you have, it will retain the past 2 pay periods worth of charge codes. Say I've been working on these projects and I want to keep those projects because I'm still going to be recording time because we're still within our period of performance for a given project. So for example, DGS I'm still working on, JBLM I'm still working on, and some of these others that are just straight overhead or PTO will stay on here as well. Now I did say they will stay on there for the last 2 pay periods. If I have not used that code for the last 2 pay periods, it will drop off. So whereas right now in Procast you end up with this large library of charge codes that you have to go in and deselect them as your default, so they don't keep filling up your charge codes or your list of available codes. Now the process to gain access to a code will stay the same. You have to submit a request to the project manager if the project manager hasn't already granted access to that charge code, and they will then notify accounting to add the codes to your timesheet. Now they won't add it directly as a line item in here because each of these is a drop down now, so you can pick which one of those you need instead of it auto populating in here. You can kind of pick and choose, and the system's pretty interactive. in that way. You also see over here that under task, there are available tasks that also have drop downs. If I'm working on DGS and I need to select some sort of sub-task, instead of it being an additional line item like in Procast where you'd have project management and you'd have data work and you'd have reporting and you have blah, 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 on and on and on, we've narrowed that down to only 5 tasks that you would be using, and they will be populated in here so that you can access them from this drop down. So I think everybody should, hopefully that's a positive for you because I was excited about it. So if I'm going to be working on field work, I can select that I'm going to be doing field work, and then I can select the associated location with where I'm going to be performing that work from one of these states. So in this case, if I'm out in DC working on this, I can go to Maryland, and I click on that, and we're doing DGS preventive maintenance field work in Maryland. Now you see over here, I have the available input, so I can start associating time with this little calendar view, so it shows you by day, and then obviously the weekend days are kind of denoted by this different color scheme. The red bar will indicate which box you're in. So if we pan forward, the red bar follows you along, as does the comments window that has a little red bar down here as well. This is indicating that you need to apply a comment just like you do in Procast. So hopefully as you're recognizing that this is very, very similar to the way that Procast operates in the sense of timekeeping, and not so much in the way that we do expense reports, but we'll get into that in a minute. You can record time down to the quarter hour, which is 0.25, very similar to the way Procast works, 0.5, 0.75, and then an hour. So if I've been working on this, I can put in 8 hours time. Now if I try to do that without submitting a comment, I go over here to this save button. It's going to give me an error that says, oh, it's going to ask me to change, hang on. Sorry, I changed the project, so it gives me that error. Now it says that I have an error because I enter time or try to enter time without a comment, and it'll tell me specifically which code it errored on. So it says, here it is, DGS 16 preventive maintenance. There was an error under field work because of a lack of comment. So this project requires a comment for the dates 8/16/2016. If you read the error, it will tell you exactly what the problem was, and you can go in and fix it. So I need to enter a comment that says I was doing field work. Or in this case, for a lot of the DGS work, you have to enter a specific school. You still do that under this comments box. Now if I hit save, it should be just fine, saves my time, and I can continue filling out my timesheet. Are there any questions at that point? Yeah, go ahead.
So are you, do you want the location of where the project is located or where the employee is doing work?
So that's a good question. Caroline asked if we need the project location associated with the employee or with where they're performing work. If you're based in a specific office and it's not tied to a project in a different location, it defaults to your home office location. If it is associated with a project and it's in another state, like you see here with JBLM, it needs to be associated with that state
That you're working in.
that you're working in.
Even if you're doing the work in the Denver office, you're still...
No. If you're in the Denver office and you're doing work for a project in the Denver office, then it would be Colorado.
Yeah.
This is only if you're traveling to a different state.
Mike, I've got a question. So let's look at JBL in there. Let's say on Tuesday the 16th, I've got 8 hours to admin. And then on the 17th, I wanted to change that to whatever, reporting delivery or whatever. Then do you just change that drop-down menu right there, or is it a whole another line item?
It would be another line item, and you select a different drop-down. So
Okay.
if I want to do JBLM, and instead of admin, I don't have a drop-down for that one right now, but
Okay.
let me just do one for DGS so you can get a feel for it. That's kind of this is my sample. So I said field work before. This time I'm going to be doing reporting, and I want to associate 8 hours with reporting.
But Dave, if I heard your question, you're asking that first line, it's not administration, it's reporting, right? You wanted to change that.
Well, no, if I'm doing work on admin and reporting, I wasn't sure if I could use that same line or if I had to add.
Okay, I misunderstood your question.
You want to indicate it with a different line, but instead of trying to find that line in the C here of different codes, you can just select the new drop-down, and it will put it in order. So it's
Oh, so that's gone.
so it's in sequential order based off project number.
Can we clarify that not every task will have the 5 drop downs?
Yeah, absolutely. And so with that said, you'll see down here with overhead items, you're not going to see this drop down for tasks. There's no option for it. So if I'm working on IT admin, that's just what I'm working on. There's no subcategory.
That's the only one time that you'll see the 5 drop downs will be an asset management project.
Yeah, so you'll see it under asset management, which is going to be indicated based on kind of our standard service offering, which is going to be our typical project work. We kind of coined that as asset management. So I would also say that, Dave, just to expand on what you asked a minute ago, say I'd been working on reporting, and I actually wanted to associate it with data management. I can change this, and it will give me an error now that says, okay, I changed it to data management, and it's going to give me an error. And it's actually very similar to what you would see in Procast, where it says, you changed this, or you changed something, but you're still recording time. Why are you changing this? But here you get the drop down with these pre-selected options. So you can apply either data entry mistake, or the PM requested a change, or there's other, and you can type in that I was just training personnel. So now the handy thing is, say I go through and I change all of these. So I don't know, I can't change. Associate time here. What's that? PM time. Save that. So if I change this, change that back to 6, I can hit save. I can modify several of these entries at the same time. So I change that to 6 hours from 8. I change this to let's do back to reporting. Let's change this to data management, and let's change this to 5 hours. It's going to say, whoa, wait a second, you changed all of these. Now you see this option that says provide an individual change reason for each one, which we can select an option for each one of these, or I can apply one for all of them, which is entry issue. I made a data entry mistake. Apply it to all of these changes that I made, hit save, and everything saves your updates, which is kind of nice, so you don't have to go and apply, type in a specific comment for each line item if you're just going in to modify your timesheet. Now,
hey, Mike,
yeah.
I've got a question. For one of those reasons for a change, can we just have something added that says Crystal Brady?
Thanks, Maya.
that would actually be under other.
Okay. Okay. All
right. We can do that.
Thank you, Maya.
So last couple things I'll touch on with the time entry is you cannot associate time in advance for project work, but we're working on kind of a fix in the scenario where we have to submit time ahead of time. So like with this pay period with Procast, we're estimating time into the future. We don't have a way to do that currently, just because we can't record time in advance. So if I was to go out here to the 31st and say, hey, I was working on this project for 8 hours just because I really hate my timesheet and I want to fill out the whole pay period all at once, it's going to say, actually, you can't do that. So, sorry. And the only exception is that you can apply this with ETO, PTO, and holiday. So those are the 3 exceptions to that where you can apply time in advance, and you also don't need to apply an entry or a comment with those items either. So if I put in 8 hours here, say I took the rest of the time off because I just was going on vacation, I can put 8 hours all the way through here, and I don't have to put in a comment for each one of those. I can hit save, good deal, change the reason why, or associated reason with why I messed up on the changes, hit save, good deal.
Then you won't get emails telling you to put something in while you're on vacation.
Right, very good point. So you won't get nasty grams from Crystal.
Do we have an unpaid time off code?
No, no. An unpaid time off?
Well, I don't earn paid time off, but I get unpaid time off, but I really don't want to get emails.
Yeah.
As long as if you submit it, then you won't get it. Oh, that's a good point. Actually, I'm going to write that down. Because that is something I need to look at.
All right, so, yes.
You're only the people that are authorized for admin reporting, they'll only get that drop down, correct?
That's correct. So Steve asked about the drop-down options up here. You will, as I mentioned early on, this will only be granted as an accessible task within this project based on what the project manager has defined as a project code that you would need access to. And that's done through the same way that we do it right now. Send a request to the PM. PM says, yes, grant access to somebody in project support or Winston or somebody that needs access to the corresponding code. Then the county goes in and adds. And in my case, I had Dan do this while we were testing. I just hit F5, refreshed this web page, and all of the codes came up instantaneously. So it's very, very fast to respond to changes. Now, the last thing that I'll show you before we move on is that this little icon down here at the bottom, initially when you start out, you're not going to have all these codes in here, so you need to add them. And this is how you add a row. You just click on this, and you can add as many codes and select from the drop-downs of whatever you need. So I've been working on Walmart, I've been doing a lot of Walmart and BMS, and I've been doing a lot more PTO, and it's a variety of things. So you get the idea? That's a pretty easy way to add line items to each one of these. And then, as I said, you can go in and you can modify the whole timesheet and then save your changes, apply a change reason that was data entry, and go ahead and save and move on. Are there any questions at this point? This is just, the X also indicates that you can delete those lines as well. Any questions? Okay. I think that's good news, but I'm not sure. So, just make sure I can save this real quick. Should be good. I can go back out here to my time, and this is my timesheet. So if I need to go in and edit that, I can double click or use the pencil as I suggested earlier. If I need to add a timesheet, I can select a timesheet. It's going to give me this window that says, okay, when do you want to add a timesheet? So I enter a date that says, all right, well, I need to add a timesheet for, say I wanted to add a timesheet for 8/5. It falls within a given pay period, and it's going to default to that pay period without you having to do anything. So now I'm starting out with a new timesheet. This is going to be what your timesheet looks like when you start out. You start adding your projects, and you can associate your task, and so on and so forth. So I spent 8 hours on that. Work. So I save that. Very good. Now I go back out to time. I see 2 different timesheets. So I can select from that without having to go into Procast and tell it which timesheet. I can see them both right here. I can go in here and say, oh, Crystal rejected my timesheet. Damn, I need to go back into that one and
I like how I'm
change
getting
something.
beat up on today.
Yep, Crystal's in the crosshairs today. Complain about your mouse, see?
See?
All right, so One other thing with our time is going to be this leave request option.
Oh, before that, really quick, when we were doing this is Kyle, by the way, if a timesheet is rejected, we did find that if once you fix it and it goes back, doesn't it go back to all the approvers to approve again? So keep that in mind. Like if you still have to get all the approvals over again. So.
Right. That's a good point. It'll go back through the approval cycle, and the project managers and immediate supervisors will have to approve that time again. So one thing that, actually a couple things. So you'll see here that there's an option to add timesheet. There's also an option for leave request. Leave request is going to be probably a pretty useful tool, or at least I assume so, because this is really going to help facilitate our resource reservation down the road. So when Bob's trying to schedule resources for a project, it will indicate that so-and-so in the field has been utilized up to this point, and they've requested and been approved for leave during a specific time period of whatever they've requested off. So if I will say, okay, well, I got a family reunion or something coming up and I need to take time off, I click on this add leave request, I can go in here and I can tell it, all right, well, I'm going to take leave on September 20th through September 23rd. I'm just going to say family reunion, and I'm going to save that. I can preview it just to see what it's going to look like. Okay, this is what my supervisor is going to see, and go back and edit it if I want, and I can submit it. And I can, when I go to submit, I can also CC other people. Think of this as kind of your carbon copy option. So say I'm going to be gone, and that's going to impact Dave's project because his projects take forever and he's just taking a long time. So just kidding, Dave. So if I want to hit Dave, I picked on Dave just because he's sitting next to me, not because his projects really take forever. So I can CC Dave, and say I also want to CC Laura Carpenter. I can spell her name, and the rest of the email. Carpenter.
Are we responsible for doing that? I mean, I know our supervisors need to know that.
You know, this isn't a requirement necessarily, but it's kind of a courtesy, I guess. If you wanted to let some other people know that you're going to be gone during a specific time, this is not actually, this is a notification. This is not these individuals are going to be approving that time.
So is this going to take place on the ETO, PTO calendar that's on our
Good question, and no, it will not. This is strictly so that we can see when people are going to be available to work on projects. So if I'm Dave and I'm going to be taking time off, we need to know that Dave's not going to be available to work on a project that just came out of nowhere, out of left field, and we need to deploy a team. He's not going to be able to be the PM because he already has prior leave approval from his supervisor. If I go ahead and hit submit, now I see that I have time off requested, and when that gets approved, I can go back to my time, and I'll see this, instead of a red X, I'll see that it's just been approved. Yeah.
So with the leave request too, guys, is that if it's approved, it's going to show as a note on the top of your time card during that week that you requested a leave request for that time period as a reminder for you. The other thing is that you will be able to see your PTO and ETO balances in Unanet starting on September 1st. You'll still be able to see them both on your pay stub and then also in Unanet through the month of September. Starting October 1st, you will only be able to see them in Unanet.
And you'll be able to see them on your dashboard. So everybody loves to log into Mosaic, I'm sure, and see their timesheet or their ETO, PTO balances. But unfortunately now, as soon as you log into Unanet, you'll be able to see it on your dashboard, so you don't have to go into two different systems.
Is that also on Mosaic?
No, it won't be. It will no longer be on a Mosaic as of October 1st.
October 1st.
Which is super handy, yeah. I mean, I don't know about you. I never log into Mosaic primarily because I forget my password. which is really terrible. It's rare. It's rare. So
The leave request will also check your balance against your available balance. So if you don't have enough time to take off what you're requesting, it's not going to let you submit it.
very good. Any questions at this point?
So say you talk to your manager, say it's January, you want to go on vacation in February, and they agree, yeah, you can take your like 5-6 days. If you put in the hours ahead of time, but you don't have it in your bank, will it reject it?
So actually, let me rephrase because Kyle just brought up a good point, and I actually misspoke. The leave request will not check against your balance, so you can do it in advance.
Okay.
If you're planning a vacation 3 or 4 months in advance. What will check against your balance is when you actually try to apply it on your time card. So if you're trying to put more PTO in your time card than you have, it will reject it.
So how will that work then, like eventually? So if you're trying to do your time card with the approved per manager PTO, but you still need to submit a time sheet, how is that going to work?
Well, as long as when you put in your timesheet, as long as you have enough hours to cover it at that time, it'll go through.
But so say you if you accrue from January on, but you don't, but you're taking a vacation for 5 days in February, you haven't accrued that yet.
Right.
So.
But you won't put that on your timesheet until you've already accrued it.
It's only during the current timesheet.
Right.
So like if you.
So what you're saying is you want to go into the negative.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't.
Okay, so how does that work?
No more negative.
So we all take vacations in November?
No, I'll tell you later.
Okay.
If for some reason you have to go into the negative for any specific reason, it has to go through your supervisor and Laura for special permission to be able to do that.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Before we move on from the project approvals, if I'm a manager and I want to approve time, I go down here to this primary approvals. I can see that somebody's submitted time that I need to review. I click on the goggles, glasses, whatever. Timesheet user tells me what the. So this is kind of a cool feature, really. Before we used to have, for those of us that did it, you have to click on a separate window and then show comments so that you could see all the comments and then you sort it out. This shows you when they recorded time, and it also shows you what the comments were and what the status of the timesheet is. So I can see right up here that on the 22nd, Mike was working on fixing computers. I moved to fixing, so on and so forth. Associated time, I can either disapprove it, or I can approve it, or I can skip it and skip to the next. Queue takes me back to the queue so I can see all of my pending approvals. Any questions on that? Should be pretty straightforward. I think that's.
As a project manager, you'll get an email whenever somebody submits a time card in your group. We're trying that right now so that for you guys who travel a lot, you're not having to constantly log in every 5 or 10 minutes to double check.
So instead we just get bombarded with 40 emails?
Yep.
Great. Okay. The more emails, the better, Dave.
Picked up on the sarcasm.
No, I did. I just ignored it.
Well, the other side of that is that you don't know about it, and as a result, never approve the time, and then are holding up the pay period for the whole company. So it's gotta kind of pick your poison. So, in order to do an expense report, you're going to have the same options. You're going to add an expense report. Request you're not going to use as of right now. The intent down the road is that you would be able to request a purchase order. So instead of having to go through and do the PO the way we currently do it today with an Excel spreadsheet, you go in here and request the approval. So click on, sorry, I didn't mean to skip ahead there. Is everybody out on the phone still following?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, good. So adding an expense report. I click on add expense. For the purpose, I'm going to be able to put the, we really want to stick to the standard naming convention of week ending and then the week ending date. And then if you were traveling for multiple projects or something along that line, you want to indicate that you were doing, different project work and kind of bounce around, just to kind of give accounting an idea of what the charges might be related to. So in this example, I would use week ending, and I want to say this is going to be the 2nd of September, and I was in Crofton and Denver. I think you guys use periods.
Yeah.
I try not to use periods, probably just because I associate those with IP addresses, but and
So what do you
that's
want it to
my
actually look like? 02 period, 7
Yes.
period,
Yes.
16?
It also has a hard time storing files that
So days,
have
months.
periods because they're registered
the
as
year
special
plan.
characters. But that's neither here nor there. So this is just my own personal issue. I'll try to work through that for you. So location, I'm going to say it was Crofton because I was out in Crofton. And here I'm going to indicate what I was doing while I was out in Crofton, what the corresponding project is. So I would say that I was working on DGS preventive maintenance. I was doing field work, and I can either associate all of my expenses, because I'm going to list all my expenses after I tell it what project I've been working on, and associate all my expenses with this. Or if I was working on two different things, say I was in Crofton, but before I went to Crofton I had to stop somewhere else, in this case Denver, which is kind of ridiculous because I already work in Denver. But say I was working on Baker Hughes. Say I had to work with Baker Hughes on something. I can now say that it was field work related there as well, and I want to split my allocation at 50% between the two projects. I can now do that. I hit save. Very good. Now I can go in, I can start listing my receipts, my itemized expenses that hit those projects. So once I hit details, I can see the next window, which is this little, gives me this little wizard. There's another little sub wizard that will allow you to insert the amounts once we go in here. But now we just start filling out the boxes. So I was doing work during, when do we want to do work? Let's do the 29th. Expense type, I had to book my trip. I go in here.
No, remember we said we weren't going to use it as travel.
What?
We were not going to use airfare. Do fuel.
Okay, we'll do fuel. Okay, so I'll click on the, in case you didn't see that, it was a little bit fast, sorry. If I click in here to insert the dollar amount, it's going to pull up this little wizard that tells me, okay, you have an expense. What was it? I provide my receipt. I provide my receipt because Bluefin requires we provide receipts, and insert who the vendor was. In this case, I stopped at Shell, and I spent $50 on gasoline. Dave's case, he could have used the pounds, so let's try not to throw accounting off. We'll keep it as US dollars for right now. And then I can insert a comment. Comments are not required for this because you might get overwhelmed with having to type in a comment each time. So I hit save, and I see this allocation over here. Let me do one more line item, and I'll show you why I point out this allocation piece. If I insert another line, I can change my date. Say this happened a different day. Actually, yeah, let's do a different day. And I need to record my mileage. We still require a map fee submitted with this, just as we do right now. And I can insert where I was going to and from. Say I went from Denver office, and I went to DIA, and my total mile is 22.6 miles per tie. It auto-calculates based on this US dollars mileage rate, which comes straight from our GSA database. It pulls that information, takes times this, gives you $2 or $12.20 value, no comment necessary, and save that. Now, say I was actually going between these two projects. I was traveling to Baker Hughes, and I was traveling from there to something else, another project, Project X. I can associate all of my project expense with line item 1, or all of my project expense with line item 2, or I can leave it as allocation, and it will split it 50-50 between the two. So allocation splits it between the two, and the drop-down indicates all of it goes to project 1 or all of it goes to project 2. So I can override the 50% by indicating which line it should reference up here. So see project 1, project 2, it will associate 100% of the $50 to this project. If I leave it at allocation, what does it do?
25 to each project.
Indeed, $25 goes to preventive maintenance, $25 goes to Baker Hughes. Savvy? Everybody's with me?
Yeah.
Very good. Okay.
The application that you put in first is really just a formula for what you're going to.
Exactly. Exactly. So this allocation rate up here just tells it, okay, I need to split it 50-50. Now, say I need to go back and change one of these projects. Say, oh, damn, I didn't mean to enter Baker Hughes ramp because I was actually doing field work for something else. I can click on this purpose button. Oh, I exceeded. Hang on, I got to put a comment in here. Comment. Okay, good. All right, click on purpose, and it will take me back to that screen that says, hey, which project? Oh, it was actually DC Convention Center. I was doing administrative work. I can save that, and now I go back into details, and now I have my allocations still the same, but it makes more sense because it was actually this project that I wanted to look at as opposed to Baker Hughes. Does that make sense? If you only have one project that the expense report's tied to, I only have one project listed. This is only in scenarios where you have multiple projects you want to split it out amongst. Now, you'll notice over here, this has to equal 100. Okay? Any questions on that?
So you can have 5 projects as long as
it totals 100, you can split it up. Hopefully we don't have that. In that case, I would say it's probably easier to just do different expense reports, or we'll see. Payment method, yeah. So Crystal asked about the payment method. This is always going to be employee reimburse. So the reason being is that's going to indicate how much you're going to be reimbursed for as an employee. Now, this is super important when it comes to your per diem rates. So if I'm going to select this one, I'm going to do my lodging per diem. I click on my dollar amount to enter my hotel receipt, and it comes up and it says, okay, receipt provided. If not provided, why? You obviously fill those out accordingly. And vendor name was what? Hampton Inn, I think I did yesterday.
That's new. Like previously, we just put in our per diem for what the per diem is for, say, I don't know, Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Right.
So are we still going to get reimbursed the per diem, or are we going to get reimbursed the hotel bill?
You're going to be reimbursed the per diem rate. So we have our check-in date, and I can say how many nights was I there. I was there 3 nights. I select where I was. I was in Maryland. Let's see, where's Maryland at? Maryland. I see this little icon off to the side. This is telling me that I click this drop down and nothing happens. Why won't it show me what I need to see? Because I need to actually go out and say, hey, give me the most current rates for Maryland. It goes out, checks, now it gives me all of my counties. Say I need to stay in, yeah, Anne Arundel, whatever. Tells me, here's my per diem rate, $121. Daily room, $121. Ignore the tax, and it will automatically calculate that out. It takes it times my multiplier up here, which was 3 nights stayed. Tells me exactly what my reimbursable rate was. I hit save, and now I see $363 associated with my expense report. Yeah, that's super easy. Now, say I was actually, yeah, so.
I'm sorry, do we need to have the hotel receipts associated with that? Since
No.
it's still...
No GSA backup, no longer required anymore, and no hotel receipt. The only time it'll be an exception are those few American Express cardholders that are putting their hotel charges on company Amex.
Now, say, since I have 2 projects up here, I actually stayed in 2 different locations. Well, I still want to indicate that I stayed somewhere as a lodging rate so on and so forth. I see these icons off to the left. X indicates delete. The 2 pages is kind of universally accepted as copy, and this is our wizard. This wizard gives me the same wizard as if I click in the dollar amount box. So if I click over here, it gives me this wizard. If I click on this wizard, it's the same wizard and everything. So if we have this copy row, we can copy it. I can copy this over and over and over again. If I stayed in a lot of different locations, or I need to record lodging for a number of different places and associate the expense with 2 different line items, I go here, tell it, this needs to go to line item 1, this needs to go to line item 2, and I go into my wizard, and it tells me how much I'm actually going to charge for staying in a different area, say I stayed in the district. I need to update this. Yeah, let's see that. 174. So I stayed there. So I stayed there for 1 night, and I stayed there a different day. So I stayed there the 31st. Very good.
But change your
Yes. Doesn't auto-populate that.
So your daily room rate always has to match the per diem allowance?
Correct.
Yes.
Would it
Otherwise, you're shorting yourself your per diem.
Would it kick it back? Say you had like, so 830 and you put in 3 nights, and then you put in 3 more nights for 831. Would it kick it back because you're not specifically saying which nights you were at those?
We should check with them and see if we can do.
You'll kick it back.
What the hell? You can't stay in 2 different places at the same time. I can't. Maybe some other people can. So, anyway, any questions on adding per diem? Just ask me if I want to delete.
Can we do the meal? Because
yeah. So I'm going to go into meals next, and then we'll get into the other portion here, Rashmita.
Actually, before you go on, Mike, I do have a question. Sorry. The on the old timesheet, it had a start and an end.
Yes.
So you're only getting percentages of that? How's that handled up?
You're jumping the gun. We're getting into meals. Okay. So good question though. So if I can click on the wizard, how do I get my wizard to show up?
dollar amount.
I can click on the dollar amount, or I can click on my little wizard guy. So I stayed over in, where did I say? Somewhere in Maryland. Click on Maryland. Stayed there during that day. Tells me what county I was in, or it gives me a list. What did I say? Right here. So $69 is the daily amount. What Dave was suggesting is that on our current expense report, it's deducted based on a travel day, so prorated. So if it's if you're flying out or flying back, the dollar amount that you're reimbursable for is different. That will hold true here, and you simply select, is this my first day of travel or my last day of travel? It will then prorate the amount from $69 to $51.75. If I'm not traveling that day, I simply don't select one of these options, and it stays at $69 for the reimbursable amount. If I was provided a lunch by a vendor, say I was meeting with a client, something along those lines, it deducts out the value of that lunch, it deducts out the value of the dinner, and if I did breakfast too, I only get $5.
Incidental.
That's not very likely. So, so any questions on the use of those boxes?
Those honor system really check it.
More or less. Rashmita will probably check into that. So
She has to wait.
Yeah.
It's going to line up with the lodging.
yeah,
Where did you stay? Where are you?
yeah.
George.
So do we want to show anything else as far as this goes? Yes, very good. So attaching a receipt is what Caroline asked about. Now, in order to attach a receipt, all you need to do is take your receipts, scan them in. It should scan into your computer as as a PDF, store it somewhere in your system, come down to this attach, and we're going to attach.
Everything in one attachment though, right?
Yeah, everything will scan in as one attachment. You can actually print a PDF and print the picture to a PDF and then merge it back in. It's ideal as opposed to having a picture. Caroline asked if you could associate a picture with it. It's better if it's all just one PDF, smaller file size, so on and so forth. And then it needs to be in order of your charges that you've listed on your expense report.
But if you're traveling and can't scan, can you use pictures? When you take that picture, you can then save it via PDF. Print to a print,
so you print
and print
a PDF.
If you're like on your cell phone, is that what you're talking about? If you take a picture with your cell phone.
I'm just thinking of people who are traveling. Make it easy.
Yeah, they could send they have to get it on their computer somehow to associate it with this. So the recommended way would be to print to PDF because everybody at Bluefin has Nuance as their PDF editor, and they can merge and assemble documents as needed. So we'll click on this Browse button right here.
What is that? What is Nuance? I've never heard of Nuance or ever used it.
Hi, Steve.
Hey.
Nuance is PDF editor. Should be your default PDF editor. Templates of Adobe.
Yeah.
All right. I've never used it, but anyways, I'll be out there next week, so you have to mess with my computer anyways.
Okay. I'll verify that you have access to it. So we go into attach. We click on attach. We go into our. This is a very. I'm sure everybody here, if you've used a computer for any length of time, you've seen this browse option. I browse to your location for storing things. In my case, I store it under expense reports, and I have my corresponding year and month, which is probably August. I can click on this. This is, in this case, it's Nuance. And I click on OK, and it says, okay, here's the document you want to upload. In real world example would be all of your receipts should be in order and scanned in or at least constructed in some fashion so that you can upload this document. We hit save, and you're only going to do that one time. So all of your receipts are now associated with this expense report.
If you send me multiple receipts, I'm going to reject it. Just putting it out there. Multiple attachments. Multiple attachments, yeah.
Only do that one time. Shouldn't be too much pushback on doing it once.
What's the issue with having multiple attachments? So I
So,
understand why.
It's a review process, so if you while we're reviewing it, we've got the other monitor open, we're scrolling down versus having to click on every attachment, every time and matching it up. So if it's all in one document, I can scroll down and compare it to the other screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, Steve, you asked about Nuance. Hopefully you're watching. I'll just give you a little brief overview of that. Oops, that's not it. Expense reports. So I store all my stuff under my appropriately named folder. So this is all expenses that are pertaining to week ending 26 August 16. I can open this up, which I should. I think I already did.
Do you have a picture that you could show them how to, if they do upload a picture, how to turn it into a PDF?
Yeah, you just print it, and instead of selecting a printer, you hit print to PDF. But
you have to combine it into one.
I'm
Yeah, so that's
working on that now.
So Rashmida's coming up with a kind of a tutorial on how to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I'm going to show everybody that participated today and how to do exactly what we're talking about. So once I get it in here, say I printed this to a PDF because it was a picture. It's now a PDF and it's stored in my file. Takes a second to load. All right, here's my purchase. It says how much what I purchased, how much I purchased it for. In this case, it was $100. I can also select this page panel. Does this look familiar, Steve?
No.
Okay. Okay, so we'll look at it when you come out. So I come up with this, and it says, here's your page panel. These are all the pages that are in this document. If I want to insert, I can click on Insert. It's right next to it, and it gives me a reference right to the same file path that I was looking at, which is going to be DOS for subscription, and I had 2 of those. I want to open these. It says, okay, you want to insert these, and as the first page, last page, current page, so on and so forth, and then I can hit OK, and it now merged all of my receipts, so that, say those were all scanned documents, I just merged them all into one. I save this as my file and I upload it. So it's pretty easy to do once you've done it once or twice. If anybody needs help, as I said, Rashmita is going to go through and create a little tutorial. I'll also tell you that I can then take these documents and say I need to rearrange them. I just click on it and I drag it to the first window. Everybody see how that happened? I move this blank page up here, or I can move it back down here. Very fancy, right? Any questions on that?
So the trick, I mean, are you going to train on best practice, like you should name your receipts with a 1, 2, 3 based on chronology, so that when you're doing this, it's easy to put together? I mean, there's got to be like a best practice for this that you can teach.
Or put together something.
Yeah.
I think
Probably, but I hadn't really planned on doing that as of right now. This is just kind of a folded structure that I've used, but yeah.
Yeah. Currently, Bob's team already does that, something similar. So they've already been, incorporating one document. It's everyone else that hasn't. There's a few people who just naturally do it that way, and then others attach them to an item. So yeah, but, yeah, I'll incorporate that in there.
Okay.
And one of the things I think it's important we're not trying to make it difficult for you. We're trying to, one, make it a little easier for Rashmita, but then also easier for the approvers. Because for Rashmita specifically, she has 50 of us who turn in expense reports. And if she has to click through 10 receipts on 50 people's expense reports, that's a lot of time. So it's going to save her time, get you paid more quickly, as well as any other approvers that have to look at those receipts.
Right. Okay. So the last little bit that I wanted to go into, are there any other questions on how to do this as of right now? Everybody on the phone is kind of quiet.
Are we attaching maps to mileage?
Correct.
Yeah.
Everything is the same other than the GSA documentation. So nothing else has changed other than the GSA.
One exception is going to be, and I just thought about it, say I was going and I was on a business trip for working with a potential client. I took him out to wine and dine him. Say I'm Ty. We'll say Ty in this case. We picked on him yesterday, so he was just here to defend himself yesterday. So say I went out, and in the event, say Maya's on the phone in this case. Maya, you take somebody from, say you take Kitterman out to lunch or something like that. You can say that you had whatever the necessary information is here, where you went, who attended. I don't know if it's M-E-N or A-N, but either way. Maya, attendees, there were 2 of you. Total amount. Now, if you went out and you had alcohol, the alcohol amount needs to be separate from the meal. So say you went out and you had a $100 meal, and because you went to a really nice restaurant, and save that. May ask for a comment there. But we also had $25 that was alcohol. So that's a separate line item that I just inserted there, unallowable alcohol, and that is going to be $25. This won't be relevant for everybody, but it may be for some of you. So you simply split that out as a separate line item. Now the total bill is $125, and that's how you split out a separate expense. So
I've got a question, Mike.
yeah.
One of the things that's a pain, and if this is just the way that we have to continue working, then that's just what the answer is, I guess, is the mileage receipts and going into Google Maps, entering the addresses, taking a screenshot of that map, and then putting that into a document. There's a lot of steps required there. I would have thought that Unanet had the ability to do starting address, ending address with mileage. That's not possible?
It does not currently have any kind of a mapping on the back end, so it doesn't know the addresses. But I think I'd have to double check with Bill just to make sure they're not working on that. But I think he'd mentioned, or Eric had mentioned, that that was going to be a capability in a future rollout of Unanet. So for right now, still got to do MapQuest, and you still have to provide the map anyway. So that's not currently in this edition.
Does that need to be on the same PDF package as the receipts?
Yep. So basically, you're just taking your receipts that I had mentioned over here. Just put them all in one document, and then you can just assemble it all as one. And so say this is your map. These are a couple of your other line item receipts. Merge them all as one and attach it to Unanet as mentioned over here. So attach. So the last thing that I want to show you before we wrap up for this session is going to be adding an expense. You want to go into the importance, right?
Do you want to ask one question?
Yeah.
Sure. Mike, I'm sorry. When you hit that attachment and you said that you included, where does that that file or whatever, where is that indicated that it was put into there?
So it should be associated with whatever line item you had selected.
I know I'll see a paperclip. I think when we tested it, I saw the attachment. So.
Yeah.
Okay, just in case I'm like going through this and I think I did it or whatever, and then you go back in and it's like, I don't know if I attached it or not. I don't see where that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it shows up on here, but it does show up when you go back to the single line. It'll have a paperclip that there are attachments.
You just go back to this.
Yeah.
Here's the attachment, Steve.
But you can't look at it. Oh wait, maybe you can.
No, there it is. Yeah.
Nice question.
Good question, Steve. And this is where you would see all of them, and Rashmita was saying that she can just scroll through and see on one of her screens and compare the expenses to the other. So this should, theoretically, if we can do it correctly, speed up the amount of time that it takes her to go through this.
And your managers.
And your managers, and that's not right. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to log out as my user and log in as Rudy, so I can show you the next piece of this.
So while he does it, I'm just going to make a brief mention. We're now going to touch on the American Express charges. Normally, there have been a few cardholders that have the business American Express. What we have done in the background so that we could separate everybody's individual charges. Everybody, we requested individual card numbers for everybody in the company, and not everyone has a physical card. You will not get a physical card. However, all your charges now, right down to your car rental, your airfare, are all going to be linked to your individual name. So what I do is basically once a week is I will basically download the American Express statement, bring in all those charges, push it through Unanet out to your individual profile. So where Mike is at now, he's clicking on the import button. So we were using Rudy here as an example. This is what Rudy had for American Express charges last month or this month, and now we're allocating it. So just for the month of September. I know it's going to be a double step here, but I'm asking everybody do the American Express portion separately from their expense report. And the reason for that is, if anything, we haven't fully gone through the whole American Express cycle with this yet, and if there's anything that happens, and I won't be able to pay your individual reimbursement back if it's got the American Express also attached to your regular expense report. So that's why I'm asking that just for the month of September, we do it separately. And once I say, oh, everything's working, we're all good, everything is broken down behind the scenes, then feel free to go ahead and incorporate, your expense report with your American Express charges. Does that make sense?
No. So what you're saying is that we got to pull up this import file and label each one of those import vendors.
Correct. So Corporate Mountain is Concur when you book your ticket. The $10 fee that's usually associated is when you book a rental car. So when you do the drop down, you'll be able to see the booking fee, your airfare. For most of you, it'll just be your airfare and your rental car.
Correct.
And this is, you want us to do this as a completely separate expense report, basically?
Yes. Just for the month of September, it'll be a separate expense report. Already get, when you do your booking through Concur, you get a receipt from Concur. So you will have to upload that receipt onto this expense report. Because that receipt will also show your Concur booking fee. When you drop off your car, you should get a receipt when you drop off your car. Also, supposedly, they're going to link it so you also get it via email. I would not wait for your email. I would make sure that you get an actual receipt, because you'll be responsible for getting the backup for this travel.
And merge those two into one attachment.
Sorry, what's that?
I think it should be the same attached. On that little.
It was a little. You want to go back in there, Mike? Because you.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Yeah. So click save here. Here you go.
No, I don't click save yet.
Yeah, there
Pull that over. So I would I've specified my project just like we did earlier. What I was showing, I'm trying to show over here is what Rashmita is talking about is you would build out expenses that were associated with your expenses. So personal expenses are going to be done on one expense report, and then you're just going to click this expense, and you're going to build out a separate expense report only for September, and then you're going to come over here, insert all of the charges, you're going to import them, and it's going to go out and say, okay, give me all charges that were associated with Rashmita, or in this case, Rudolfo's American Express account. Think of it as an account number because you don't actually have the card. So it's going to pull all that over, and all you need to do, instead of trying to dig up all your receipts now, is you just click the drop down and select what the charge is for.
I thought you just said we were
No,
supposed to attach
they will have to have the receipt.
Well, you just said they don't, or who? I thought somebody said they don't.
They have
They
to.
don't.
They will have.
Oh, they have to have the receipt. Okay, so you have to dig up your receipt too.
If on the left-hand side where it says import, if you click the first two and then say save, it's only going to import those two.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
This tells it what to import.
So if you do that now, you could actually show on this.
Well, he wants me to save this part for the third training.
No, but if you
we'll
just import everything,
Oh.
then
Save that one. So it pulls it over here. Actually, we can probably do two.
And what I'll do is, I'm planning on doing this every Tuesday. It takes American Express 3 business days to post a charge, so that's why I have to wait till Tuesday. So don't be surprised if you see like a previous week's charges now showing up on a Tuesday. And what I'll do is I'm going to email everybody to say, hey, you've got an Amex charge out there now that needs to be have an expense report.
How will this work after your test month?
Then you can just open up your regular expense report, click import, and it'll bring in both.
So after you've entered all your personal stuff in, you click import, add everything at the end or at the beginning, whatever.
Yeah,
and
okay. And whatever's out there.
You have to make sure it's right before you import it.
So didn't we have this problem before we had the last one where guys were putting in their expenses the week that they used them, but then it wasn't showing up a week later, so the expense report showing the amount got questioned or whatever? I mean, is that going to be a problem on this?
The only problem that I foresee is if you're on 2 different projects on 2 different weeks, because one, you know, the previous week, I mean, it depends on how far in advance you're booking your travel. So let's say a month, you know, you've told them, oh, go ahead and book your travel for an upcoming project a month from now.
Yeah.
But hopefully, you know, most likely you will have already been assigned to the project. You'll be able to pick the code. You know, but then your car rental doesn't get charged until you actually get the car and then drop it off.
Right.
Yeah.
But before that just kind of went through Concur, and we just, you know, let you deal with.
Right. Before it was
stuff
me
fast.
breaking it apart. It was basically, yeah, I would basically on the back end run a bunch of reports and then put this all together. But now it's for our reporting and for our projects, it's easier when it comes up to the project reports. Who had that travel charge? So now, when a project manager is looking at it, they can say, "Oh, how did we spend all this money on travel? Oh, it's because it's X, Y, and Z. That's why." So it's got to be associated with the actual employee.
Okay.
Mike, do you want to explain what you just did, why it gave you the error code?
Yeah, so it's asking, this error up here is asking for details about my airfare, because I have airfare listed. So I had to go into the wizard and specify the flight details. So it says who my vendor was. I flew with Southwest, and then where I flew from, where I arrived, the dates. You don't necessarily need the ticket number. I don't know that everybody always has a ticket number, so to speak. They probably more so have a confirmation number, which is alphanumeric. You can put that in there. And it's already going to import the dollar amount from that American Express account. Now when I click save, it should save it. Everything's peachy. And
so in that example, not to interrupt, you know, you've got your booking through Concur, so that separate airfare, is that one that you would have done on your own personal credit card?
nope, these are all the American Express charges because you're importing them from the American Express account that you use every time you book travel. You just don't know it.
Yeah, but
Or
why
you
wouldn't
don't
you
think
just
about
go
it, I guess.
airfare booked through Concur or whatever? Isn't that an option?
Say that again?
I don't follow. Say that one more time.
Why why wouldn't you just put airfare through Concur? I mean, then they should have all that information as opposed to having to go in your computer, dig up all your Concur BS and enter all that.
Well, it does go through Concur, but it's still Bluefin that's paying for it, and so this is associating the charge and the backup with what you booked through Concur. So this is just indicating that this happened through Concur. These are the dollar amounts that were charged, and you're importing them through this import button that says, here's everything I charged for my travel, be it a rental car, be it airfare, be it a premium that Concur charged us because you made a flight change, so on and so forth. You select these import options, say what it was for, and then hit save, and it will bring everything over, and then you're simply going in to say what your flight details were in this wizard.
Yeah, because Steve, Amex pulls over the receipt that'll tie it to you, but it doesn't pull over the flight details or anything else. So that's what they're talking about. It just gives they just get a number. They don't get what exactly happened.
Concur and Unanet can talk.
Yes, but
Yeah, there's no synchronization between Concur and what they're charging other than our American Express bill. Yeah.
Yeah, so ideally, we don't want to altering anything with the amounts at American Express, and you'll never touch that payment method. You'll never change that. And the reason is we had to do a reconciliation at the end of the month versus what was imported and what was on the American Express. So I need to know, basically, you know, by the time we get ready to close the statement, everybody, all these charges that hit the American Express have been accounted for and have been allocated to the correct expense item. So that's something that I would do prior to this, and now it'll be on you guys to do. So that's why I say don't delete anything, don't edit anything with the American Express.
Okay.
So, let me ask you a question, if you can go back, Mike. If I hit the X on one of those lines,
Mhm.
and I want to delete that, and I've imported that, will it go back to that sheet that
Mm-mm.
now we've just lost that charge?
So to
would be-
reconcile it. I guess that's,
Yeah, it was about $30.
was it a $30?
Try that. Try it again,
Try the import for 2.
and then go
Go
back.
back to import.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
it is.
good.
Cool.
So if you do delete it by
It would be
mistake,
awful. I know. Oh my
it's
God.
there to
No,
come
it's
back
fine.
to. And I was
Okay.
thinking, if somebody deleted it and
That
it
makes
Yeah.
didn't have it, you would be just so.
I can delete it on my side. There's another hole of the window.
Sure, we don't need to know
If
that.
something came over an error, I can delete it.
Do you want me to go through anything else, or are there questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, how does this make my life easier?
Well,
She's welcome to attend tomorrow's
yeah.
meeting.
If you feel like you need more training or remedial training, there's another session tomorrow and then another one next week while you're in town. So the initial piece of this is going to require a little bit of effort, and once you get the hang of it, I think, and start navigating down, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, this is designed to be an easier way to do this.
You'll get real-time project data. That's how it'll make your life easier.
Yeah.
And Mike, will you give out a list of all the people that have gone through, kind of like the people to ask the questions in the group, so that you guys know who to phone up, who's calling you guys?
It's good. It's a good point. So as my initial email indicated, there's a support group out there that has gone through this a number of times. In fact, a handful of them are actually on the call with you. Barb, Bob, Kyle, Laura, Elaine. There's a variety of people that have gone through this at least one time, if not 3 times at this point. And this is the 3rd time they've seen it, and there's another opportunity for you to see it again tomorrow. And your final last-ditch effort is going to be the following week with Rashmida's in-depth how-to expense report via Unanet. So if there are questions, if you're apprehensive about it, it's not going to go anywhere. So you have to get familiar with it because it will replace Procast, and any expense reports that are submitted through Excel are going to be rejected. So,
Do you want to talk about the expense reports this week?
what part?
That they're going to have to wait to do it until, or no, next week, sorry.
No, they're going to submit them. So expense reports are going to be due at the end of this week. You'll get access to the system on Thursday. I want you to do your expense reports this week. That's why I've piggybacked all this training leading up to our go live day. So this is very, very fresh in your mind, because if you don't use it immediately, you're going to lose anything that you would have retained from these classes. So rolling this out, there's actually been a considerable amount of thought that goes into how we do this. And when you start doing this on Thursday and Friday, you're going to have to stumble and fall a few times. Reach out to the support group that has been made available. I can redistribute that if you guys would like, and so you know who to contact. When you submit your expense reports, they'll be done via Unanet for this week. If you're unable to do that, have questions, you should have attempted it, but if you get lost, Rashmida's training is designed to be a recap of this the following week. That's not to say that you can completely ignore doing your expense report this week, because Rashmida will do it for you next week. So don't misunderstand what I said. This is still for you to do this week through Unanet, and then if you get lost, then we can go back and help clarify where you went wrong.
So just to clarify, like on these expense receipts and stuff, being on the road all week, can I take pictures with my photos and download and do all that BS? I mean, on my computer?
Sure.
Whatever I figure out that works.
So if you have time, our meeting's about out of time. I'll go over a little bit to give you an idea of what that looks like. We'll just take a picture real quick out our front conference room window here. I'm going to send it to myself. I'm going to show you how to PDF that. If you feel like you're comfortable with what we've accomplished today, you can.
Before everybody leaves really quick, I want to make 2 quick notes. First of all, ETO forms will still be by Excel spreadsheet. We will send out the process for that. That is not through Unanet. So if you're requesting for ETO, it will still be through an Excel spreadsheet, okay? Second note, this is just for ETO, not expenses, just for ETO time. Second note is that you guys do have to estimate your time for tomorrow. You do have to submit today. Please do that. If there are changes to your estimation tomorrow, let me know. I can open your time card back up and we can make those changes. But please do not forget to get your time card in today, because I'm sure you would like your paycheck. Okay. Today.
I'm going to open Outlook real quick. I sent that picture to myself, Steve, as you mentioned, and I want to show you how to change that to a PDF.
There's also apps you can get that will change a photo on your phone to a PDF, and you can do like 5 of them on your phone. So you can take a photo of your receipt, turn it into an app, and email yourself.
What a lovely picture that is.
Isn't it though? So I go up here to print. It's going to say which printer would I like to print to. Here's all my options. This one is Nuance PDF. I can hit print.
Can you click fit to picture just in case I will do that?
Oh.
I unclicked that fit to picture. Oh.
It's going to say here, where would you like to store this PDF document? I'm going to navigate to my expense report folder, and I'm going to save it in that August folder I showed you a little bit ago.
And name it with the date that you did it.
Yep. Say this was dinner on, say it was on September, and it was 16th. We're now going to save that. Very good. Stored it there. Then go back over here, go into my expense. I don't need that. It's just going to open it as a PDF. I don't care about that. I can now attach this. I browse back to that location. I have my dinner PDF. I can merge all these together. Hit open, and I hit save. And now I just printed my picture to PDF, stored it as one complete PDF, and associated it with all of my expenses that were recorded for this expense report.
And my advice would be, when you're putting your PDF together, if you can't make it out, I should make it out. So I would say, if you're going to basically give me supporting detail, make sure it really supports what you're asking for reimbursement. So sometimes I get blurry pictures, sometimes I'll get blurry documents, so just do a quick once-over of everything that you're sending. Otherwise, like I said, there'll be an approval process, and it'll be, if there's project-related stuff on there, it'll go to the project manager, it'll go to your immediate manager, it'll go to me, and if I have to reject it, guess what? Everybody has to reapprove it again. So it just taking a few extra seconds to make sure everything is accounted for will save yourself some time, as well as the rest of us.
Let me make sure he's got new ones. He's got to do it.
I'll make sure. Yeah. Anything else before I let everybody go? Or everybody else was still left?
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Thanks, Carolyn.
Steve, did that make sense?
I guess for first round, I'll jump on tomorrow at the beginning. I was up on the roof momentarily, so I missed the beginning.
There's several of us that can help walk you through it if you need.
Okay, yeah, and I'll be out there next week.
Okay. Very good. Well, I think that concludes our demonstration.
Yeah, one question. Did you send out, and I probably missed this early on, did you send out all the access names and passwords for this yet?
I have not. That'll happen on September 1st. So Thursday, you will receive all of that in your login information to access Unanet.
All right, can't play till then, right?
All right, good deal. Again, there's another one of these tomorrow afternoon, 1 to 2:30 Mountain Time. So if you feel like you want to see it one more time, just to ask some more questions or whatever, feel free.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, good deal. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody else on the
Have a
phone.
great day.
You too. Right. Hey, Elaine.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about it? This is your third go at this. Are you feeling a little bit more comfortable with how to navigate?
Yeah, the only, I absorbed the first part, second half I start to get glazed over, so next one I just need to do the opposite. I should be all right.
Okay.
If I have
Very
any
good.
questions,
Well,
I'll just ask you.
yeah, absolutely. So don't forget you do have access to the Sandbox site. So if you want to go in there and start trying to do some of that, might not be a bad idea.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, good deal. Take care.
All right, talk to you tomorrow.